Tom, Mika and I this morning were talking about how McCain seemed yesterday on the campaign stump to be hitting his stride. He looked relaxed, but just being really blunt, he looked tired, a little agitated yesterday on Meet the Press. What can you tell us about your interaction with him?
Well, I can't speak for him, but I think that there are a lot of other places that he would rather have been at 6 o'clock in the morning than coming on Meet the Press. He had a lot of other scheduled events in Iowa, and then moving on to Pennsylvania and other places. And I think he just, frankly, worn out by being questioned at every turn. One more Sunday morning talk show is not something that was probably at the top of his wish list. I think I can say that safely, having gone through some negotiations with the staff and so on. But he was very pleasant, and he was feisty, and he came on and represented his point of view, which is that he can continue to repeat that Barack Obama is not ready to be president because he doesn't have the experience or the judgment, and the same themes that you were just now talking about, that he's going to tax people, and of course they continue to go back to that $40,000 level, which the Obama people have denied repeatedly. And he continued to hammer away at the business of, or at the suggestion at least, of some socialism. At one point I said to him, do you really think that Warren Buffett, Paul Volcker, who was the chair of the Federal Reserve under Ronald Reagan, Bob Rubin, and even Chris Buckley, who is the son of the late Bill Buckley, the godfather of the modern conservative movement, would be embracing and helping shape policies that were socialistic in nature? And he plowed on from there. So he was in good form for a man who's been out there for 2 years now. He did at one point stumble on who were all the secretaries of state who have supported him as he ticked them off.
Yeah, of course, George Shultz, not a forgettable Secretary of State, I might say. Tom, a devastating portrait of the McCain campaign, the cover story of New York Times Magazine. Is it not fair for voters to look at the way John McCain has managed and mismanaged his campaign since the middle of last summer and say if he can't run a political campaign any more effectively than that, how can he run the White House in this country? I
had that very conversation with someone I know well, who is a Republican, has served in the Justice Department in the Great Plains, and is one of those undecided voters right now. And that's one of the criteria that he is looking at. If he can't run this campaign more effectively and develop a strong, consistent theme and keep the campaign going in the same direction from week to week, how can I trust him to run this country? By the way, this whole business about spreading the wealth around, I think the question by the end of the week is there going to be any wealth to spread around, given the state of the economy? And that's what's really on the minds of people, frankly.
Absolutely. And to add on to the campaign strategy and the New York Times Magazine article that Joe mentioned, front cover story, I think this is where, in fair context, you can bring in the Sarah Palin clothing issue and money spent and things like that have caused a lot of people to attack the McCain campaign. But you hear nothing about infighting in the Obama campaign, about strategy controversies. They've been even all the way through. It almost seems like they've never fallen off track, yet the McCain campaign seems to be flailing in different directions. Is that a fair assessment?
It is, and the pros on the other side are in awe of how Obama has run this campaign with David Axelrod and all the other key players in it. There have been very few missteps along the way. And Joe talked a little bit just a moment ago about the power of money in these closing days. And there is a huge advantage for the Obama campaign, by all accounts, anecdotal and otherwise, in states like Pennsylvania and North Carolina and Virginia. They're out there with color-coded assignments about who's going to go where and who's going to talk to whom. It's very reflective of what the Bush campaign did so effectively 4 years ago. You don't see that much evidence of it on the other side, on the McCain side, that they're as nearly as well organized.
People getting live phone calls, repeated live phone calls from Obama campaign volunteers, and the website is on fire, as opposed to McCain's website.
Well, there was a great story over the weekend about the Republican in Florida, the woman who was checked in on the website to just see what the opposition was doing on the Obama website, and got 4 follow-up calls.
7, actually.
Yeah,
7 follow-up calls from Obama. I read the same thing. She was just checking in on the Obama campaign. She's actually for the Republicans, and was like, I haven't gotten any McCain phone calls. It was interesting to her that they were that organized. and the website as well. Andy,
well, you know,
we're going to
success
keep you.
begets success. I mean, when, you know, it's really hard, you know, we're blaming McCain, but the campaign, you know, is facing this tidal wave of bad economic times, people discontent with foreign policy. But Obama's campaign has been great, even in the primaries, remember, against Hillary Clinton. Very impressive organization.
But then, Tom, as you said, remember New Hampshire. We have to remember New Hampshire.
Well, listen, I've been at this a long time, and my guess is it'll close up some, but you know, I gave John McCain a choice of movie metaphors yesterday. Did he think he was Kevin Costner in A Field of Dreams, build it and they shall come? Or is he George Clooney at the tiller of a ship in a perfect storm? And
oh my gosh.
He's fighting against a lot of conditions over which he has no control at this point. And you know, that's very tough to push back against that. This party has been in the White House for 8 years now, and they had control of the Congress for a good portion of that time. So these are tough circumstances for a Republican running under in this kind of economic maelstrom.
Yeah, and John McCain certainly showing confidence at this late stage in the game. It was the first time he was on your show in about 9 months.
Yeah, there was a lot of negotiation to get him on.
I bet you worked hard.